In the midst of the darkness, God has sent us His light. There's no need to be anxious. He will lead in our fight. If you've been called by the Savior.
Welcome, everybody, to the Trust in the Lord Hour. I am your host, James, Trusting in the Lord Manning. How's everybody doing today? We pray that all is well if we actually do mean that. We're not just being, churchianity or Christian or whatever, religiously stating, I'll pray for you. We actually did pray for you this morning. You don't believe that? Well, ask the Lord. Then you go pray and say, did somebody pray for me this morning? Yeah, James David Manning prayed for you, and I did it in the closet, which means that you should be rewarded openly. Got a lot of things to cover today. We have had an extraordinary season. We covered in the last couple of sessions we had together that Jesus said in Revelation chapter 22, verse 13, that He is the Alpha and the Omega, the first, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. And He is both the Old Testament and the New Testament. He says, I'm the beginning. And Moses writes in Genesis chapter 1, in the beginning, and Jesus says, I'm the beginning. And John writes in the Gospel of John, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So Jesus says, I am that, the Old Testament. He says, I'm the Old Testament. And then He says, I'm the end. I'm the New Testament, the book of Revelation. So now I want to be able to take a break, and I'll be right back with more of the teaching for today. So hang tight. I'll be right back. Busy day today. Got a lot of things to cover. Busy morning, getting busy as days go by. Hang tight. I'll be right back. James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant.
Purple Grace presents Purple Grace Exquisite Tea Affair. Now, this affair will not get you into trouble. Taste, drink, and fall in love. Order from Purple's Affair collection today. Do it right now. Want to give a beautiful gift to yourself, a loved one, or a friend? This affair will be perfect. Remember, this affair will not get you into trouble. But this is for any and everyone who desires to partake in this most unique, unusual, delicious, and refreshing affair. Order yours today, right now. Go to purplegrace.com or Purple Grace Tea on Instagram to get all the intimate details. Want a taste of heaven while here on earth? Then order from Purple's Strawberry Love Collection. A hibiscus like no other. Even the angels can drink this. Imagine that. You know you love it. You know you love it.
All right, so Jesus is speaking Greek. Sounds Greek to me. The alphabet, the Greek word alpha, and then omega, the beginning and the end. This has been really a fascinating journey that the Lord has had us on over the past 3 years. It's been extraordinary, to say the very least about it. And now we're at a point where we have started nearly 2.5, 3 years ago with the Matthew 16:28, where Jesus says, some standing here that shall not taste of death. Now, that doesn't not necessarily mean it's me. I believe that it is. It doesn't mean that it's the Outlaw Church. I believe that it is. I believe it because Jesus said it. And then after we made that statement, then Jesus gave us a lot of confirmations. And we'll try to go over those as quickly as we possibly can. But the Lord is looking for people to be his disciples when he returns on his second journey. But what I want to do today is I want to look a little bit at understanding systematic Bible study. that that is developed so that we can clearly get a, if you will, structured picture of our God and His Word. And so I'm going to give out a couple of things today I think that are important for us to look at. Number one, through the systematic Bible study, that we've now began to realize that curses are not entities of creation. That the creation process of Genesis chapter 1 through verse 28, 29, and then Genesis chapter 2, verses 1 through 3, where God rested on the Sabbath day, is the creation event. And everything that was everything, that was everything, that was everything, was created in those verses with the seed within itself to procreate. In Genesis chapter 3, we get then the curses because Adam and Eve failed. They disobeyed the word of God. They ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And they failed. And so God cursed first the serpent, then the woman. And strangely enough, He didn't really curse Adam. Adam was cursed, but He cursed the ground for Adam's sake. I think it's important that we understand that process as well. And so what we're looking at now are the creation versus the curses in the first 3 chapters of Genesis. So in order to structure so we can look and see exactly what was God doing when He built this house and built this event. So Genesis gives us that information. Now the curse of the serpent was that he should go on his belly all the days of his life, and he shall eat dust. That is to say, he'll never be able to walk again upright on legs. He used to look like the big old dragon. He's still referred to as the old dragon. The serpent is. Jesus still calls him the dragon. I guess Jesus knew him from before. Jesus calls him the dragon. John the Revelator calls him the dragon in Revelation chapter 20, verses 1 through 3. And then the woman is cursed with the childbearing episode of pain. And then, of course, she's given the business of the blood purification system, which many women refer to as a curse, but they should not. It really, it comes as a part of the package, but really it is a cleansing, a purifying system of the blood that the woman has. And then, of course, the ground was cursed by Adam. You'll find this in the first 17 verses of Genesis chapter 3. And what happened in that cursing process of Adam, the life of prosperity, of plenty and leisure ended. And he then had to earn his living by the sweat of his brow. So all of that ended, and then steps poverty. So to get a clear understanding of that. So when we fix a column, let's say we just write on one side of the page, we write on this side of the page, we write the curses, the creation event, and on this side we write the curses, we put them together, and now we can then look at them in a graphic way and begin to understand them. The process of, and this is so critical for the understanding of life itself. Moreover, the more you train yourself to think in a systematic way, the more profitable you are going to become, and the more you're going to understand how to live your life in a fuller and a much greater way when you learn how to systematic or put things into systems where they belong. For instance, I've long stated that math is nothing but a rule, but it's also one of the more accurate ways of understanding God, through dimensions and through systems of understanding dimension. And physics itself, which is the science of studying all things that are physical, both tangible and intangible, but yet they have a physical impact, physics. So the period of Adam and Eve ended in Genesis chapter 3. And then we have, in terms of put into compartmentalize in the historical context, we began to put into, all right, what happened after God put Adam and Eve out of the garden? You do remember there were cars in the garden, right? Because God drove Adam from the garden in a fury. Now, those who don't know anything about the Plymouth Fury don't have any idea what I'm talking about. But the Bible said they drove him from the garden. So now what happens between Genesis chapter 3 and Genesis chapter 11? What happens in that process where God drives Adam from the garden, right? And then we've got several intervening chapters. We got chapters. We got chapter 4, where it begins to talk about Adam knew his wife Eve and she conceived and bare a son named Cain. And then, of course, there is Abel, and then it goes through a chronology of people like Seth that lived 105 years and begot Enos, and Seth lived after he begot Enos 807 years, and he begot sons and daughters, and all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. 912 years. And you're going to find a refrain of most of the people living in this context, in this intervening time. They're going to live right around 900 to 1,000 years, which is what you and I are discussing as what will take place in the omega sense of God's word, of the 1,000-year reign of peace of those that will not taste of death. And so we need to begin to apply that as a clue to how long one can live, and death does not touch them. So we go, and then through chapter 4, chapter 5, and by the time we get to chapter 6, we now come upon a man who is a preacher of righteousness. Now remember, there are no laws, there is no thou shalt not kill. None of that exists during the time of these intervening chapters. And these intervening chapters had to be very long chapters, because if Seth lived 900 and Seth lived 985 years, then you got 912 years, then you got to remember that most other people were living about 1,000 years before we can get to Noah. Now, when we get to Noah in chapter 6, it's where things begin to take shape that we can kind of now look through our biblical telescope. Imagine you're having, now listen, and especially the students in the school, come up close, everybody listen, perk up, listen to me. Imagine you have a telescope, right? And this telescope will allow you, once you put it to your eye, scale it out, right? This telescope will allow you to look all the way back into history, and you can set the dial on the telescope to take you all the way back. You can look all the way back through the pages of the Bible systematically, all the way back to the day that God put Adam and Eve out of the garden. All right, so you got the telescope. I ain't gonna keep my finger up there like that all day. But young people, right? Young students, and everybody else too, by the way. So you got a telescope. Imagine this. We talk about systematic study of the Bible, right? So you can find the truth. So you wanna go back now. You got a telescope, and you want to look. The telescope allows you to look deep back into history, right? And the telescope allows you to look all the way back to Genesis chapter 3. Now, in doing so, you have not stopped at the day of Noah. You didn't stop at the day of Moses. You didn't stop at the day of Jacob. You didn't stop at the day of Daniel. You went all the way back with your telescope. You set your sights and the dial on the telescope to let you look all the way back into history, back to the day that God put Adam and Eve out of the garden, right? So now you see it. So you got a telescope, and you can go all the way. It's like a time travel, right? It's a time travel, and you're traveling in time, but this time you're traveling not physically, you're traveling through a telescope. You're looking through the lens of a telescope, right? Through a time capsule telescope, you're looking through the lens, and you look all the way back. Now that's what systematic biblical study will help you to be able to do. So now what happens? You're looking at Genesis chapter 3, and you see what God, you're standing there. Now, you can't say anything because you can't speak. All you can do is look. And you're standing there, and you're watching God standing there. And God is talking to the devil, serpent. He's talking to Eve, and he's talking to Adam. You're witnessing that, right? Now, what you do is that you readjust the dial on the telescope. You readjust the dial on the telescope to bring it back just a little bit to the point where now you see you see Seth, you see Enos, you see Cable, you see Cain, Cable, Lord have mercy. You see Cain and you see Abel, right? And then you roll it back, you readjust the dial on the telescope just a little bit more, and you saw God, you saw Adam, you saw Eve, you saw the serpent. You even saw him standing up on feet like a dragon. Now you see him, you see the whole event there where God cuts his legs off, he hit the ground, makes a plop of dust when he falls, right? You see Eve's face when God says to Eve, you're going to bear children in pain, and you see the pain come on Eve's face, and you see Adam is upset with her. And then you see God talk to Adam, right? And you see the ground begin to growl, right? And the thorns come up out of the ground. They grow up out of the ground and they surround Adam. You're watching all this, right? Then you roll the telescope back a little bit. You roll it back a little bit to chapter 6, right, of Genesis. Now you're not chapters, and now you see Noah. You see this guy. There's a guy named Noah. He's running around all over everywhere in this whole process with thorns and thistles and the serpents rolling around, sliding around on the ground, and Eve giving birth to children, and the children killing each other. Cain slew Abel and all that stuff is going on. And so now you roll it back to a point where you find this guy named Noah, right? So you see Noah. Now I'm not talking about Noah, the animal trainer. You know, Elder Noah Ramos. I'm not talking about him. I will be talking about Elder Noah Ramos a little bit later on, but not now. So you roll the telescope back a little bit, and you end up at chapter. And there's this guy named Noah. And who is he? He's got a long white beard, you know, he's running around, he talks righteousness. What on earth? And all the people are living all around in these camps and towns, and they got these makeshift houses and everything, and they got these water pots and everything, and they got goats and lambs running around the house and all kinds of things going on, and, you know, all kinds of people, and they got some people making shoes and making clothing, and the whole family, the person is just growing in another town. They move down the road there, some move by the mountain, some by the river, and then you got this guy named Noah, right? And this guy, and he's running around through all of these people now. There are nearly 1 million people now by now, and he's running around righteousness. What are you talking about? Righteousness. What are you talking? Where's he getting that from anyway? Righteousness. And Noah hadn't really said anything mainly to God. And everybody was pretty much doing what they wanted to do. You know, Adam and Eve had been put out of the garden. They've been dead now, maybe, 40, 50,000 years. Adam and Eve been dead. And so everybody running around doing pretty much what they want to do. You know, lying and cheating and killing and stealing. If a man want to hit another man in the head with an axe, he just does it and gets away. Nobody says it's right or wrong. You know, the people roll by might, the strongest survive. And there's no laws, there's no jails, there's no prison, there's no court. Everybody just doing what they want to do, right? And then here comes Noah and all these towns. Righteousness. What is he talking about? Nobody heard that word before. Righteous. But everybody just pretty much doing what they want to do. Some of them even consider themselves worshiping God. You know, some of them, they heard about Adam and they heard about the serpent, you know. So the stories are handed down from word to mouth and mouth to mouth. The stories are handed down around the campfire about God, about Adam and about Eve and about Cain, about Abel. All these stories are handed. So some people, well, let's worship this God. He doesn't come around no more. We haven't seen him in 5,000 years or 50,000 years. We haven't seen him, but he is. So but Noah keeps talking about righteousness. So people were hitting each other in the head with axes, and they were robbing and stealing and lying and cheating and burning down villages and killing babies. And so God says, I'm sick of these people. I've had it with them. And chapter 6, verse 1, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and the daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw that the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives. So now the devils, the serpents, the devils, the demon, are marrying the actual children of Adam, right? And verse 3, And the Lord said, and here's what you're looking through the telescope now. You're looking through the telescope, and you're looking through the telescope. You got a little microphone on the end of the telescope. You got a little microphone on the end of the telescope, right? You got a little mic on the end, and you adjust it back to chapter 6, and you hear God say, here's what God says. And the Lord said, my spirit shall always strive with man, for that he is also his flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. So he cuts him back now. From 900 years to 1,000, he cuts him back to 120 years, right? You hear God talking. You got the little microphone on the end of your telescope. And there were giants in the earth those days. And also after that were the sons of God came unto the daughters of men and bare them children. And the same became mighty men which were of old and men of renown. And God saw the wickedness of man was great. People hitting into each other in the head with an axe. Great in the earth. And that every imagination of the thoughts of the hearts of men were only evil continually. That's when that's how they were acting. You're looking through your telescope now, you see all this, and you hear God talking. And then it says, and they repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I would destroy man. Verse 7, right? Well, you'll hear him say, because you got the microscope, you got the telescope and the microphone. So here God said, the Lord said, I will destroy man. Now, I'm telling you now that God's going to destroy man, because man is worse now than he was back in the days of Noah. I can tell you that right now. And God's going to destroy. His next prophecy about destruction is called the tribulation. But let's see what. So you're listening. You're looking through your telescope, right? And you got a microphone on the end of your telescope. And the Lord said, I'm going to destroy man whom I've created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping things, and the fowls of the air, for it repented me that I have made them. Verse 8. Genesis chapter 6. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. All right? So, there you have it. So now you got your telescope. So you don't look through your telescope, right? You don't look through your telescope. You see that you got the microphone. And you're going to write all this down. You write all these things down. Just see. All right? So now we got this period of time. All right, so you go and you get a nice rest and you refresh yourself and you get up the next morning and you pick up the telescope again and you don't adjust it all the way back to the Garden of Eden now. You adjust it all up to the point of Noah. And now you hear Noah, you see him running around, righteousness. And Noah running around, righteousness. God gonna destroy the world. God told me he gonna destroy y'all. God told me he gonna kill all of y'all. God told me he gonna kill you, he gonna kill you. God told me he gonna righteousness. Noah's running up and down there with people looking, what? People, what? And Noah's running around. You can see Noah. You can't go touch him. You can't help him. You can't help him. You can only hear him and see him. And there he is. Righteousness, right? Righteousness. God gonna kill all of y'all. He gonna kill all of y'all. Y'all are only evil continually. God gonna kill all of y'all. And people say, what is wrong with him? Anyway, and God had already cut down that lifespan. At first they were living to 1,000 years. God cut that down to 120. That was max for them at that point. Now it's cut down to 70. Anyway, so you're looking through your telescope, right? You're looking through your telescope, and then you see what happens. And then of course, after the next thing you know, there's water on your telescope. You shake it and you think it's going to dry, and there's water. What happened? You're in the flood. Noah prophesied that God, a flood was coming. You saw Noah building that boat. The flood was coming. And next thing you know, you are witnessing people drowning in the flood and Noah floating on the top of the waters in the boat. That's the first thing. That's what you know. And that's what your telescope, you got your telescope out there and you're watching all of this. So you're writing it all down. And then, of course, that takes you through 3 chapters. That flood was something. And watching them people die, I mean, over 1 million people died. The valleys, the rivers, the big people, the little people, the babies, the old women, they all died. All of them, they all died. All of them, they all died. They all died. And because the waters were for 40 days, even the birds that tried to fly up against the water, they didn't have no place to land. And they died. They all died. And you watch, you see, your telescope, you say, well, my God, would you look at this? Oh, the massive, woo, look at this. Oh, I got to get to the church and preach about it. I got to go to the Sunday school class and tell the Sunday school class what I just saw in my telescope and I heard on the microphone. Will you look at this? Oh, Lord, right? And so that goes on through the chapter. And then finally the flood waters are swayed, you're still looking. And the boat comes down and lands on Mount Ararat. And Noah gets off the boat and he gets drunk, right? First he plants a vineyard and makes some grapes, and then he turns the grapes into wine, and he gets drunk. But he has 3 sons on the boat. One named Shem, that was the oldest boy. He's the father of the Jewish nation right now, Shem. Then there's another boy named Ham. And he's the father of the dark-skinned people, right? Kinky head, some of them. Tough, that kinky. Well, kinky head, yeah, but it's really coarse hair. It's really a very protective head covering. And I'll tell you about that a little bit later on, why that is so. And then the youngest boy, the little knee baby, was named Japheth. Now he's the father of all the white people, all the people that live in the land without summer, the land with winter. You know, all up in Norway, Finland, Sweden, all up in them cold countries in Canada and Germany and all that places. That's where he finally settled. Ham, on the other hand, settled in Africa. That's where he settled in Egypt. And Shem, on the other hand, settled in the Middle East around Israel, or, around Iran, Iraq, in that general area there. That's where he all settled, and that's why he looks the way he looks. So now you're watching all of this, right? And then you roll your camera back a little bit. You're coming back now. You've been at one point. You'd been all the way out to the Garden of Eden. Now you come back across maybe 50,000 years with your telescope, looking through your telescope. It's taking you a couple of weeks to do this, by the way, because you study a little bit at day and you go to sleep, you get some rest. Your eyes get tired, and you get up the next morning, you pick up your telescope again, and you look again, day and night, look at it again. And it could take you a couple of months doing all this study. And you only got to chapter 9 of the book of Genesis, but you see something happen. You're watching, and one day Noah gets drunker than a skunk. Well, he gets drunk. I don't know about no skunk, but he gets drunk, right? Noah gets drunk. He gets drunk. And then his boy Ham, who is my father, by the way, goes into the tent when Noah was drunk, and Noah was uncovered, his nakedness. And my father, Ham, saw it. And his brothers, the older boy and the younger, the knee baby boy, Shem and Japheth, took a blanket and they covered up their father because he was drunk. But they were also snitches. They snitched on my daddy. They snitched on Ham. Now you're watching through the telescope. You're watching through the telescope, right? You got your little thing there. You're watching it. We're doing systematic theology. Is that right? Is what I'm telling you how to do? Doing it from a historical perspective. Because we want to get to where Jesus says, I'm the Alpha and the Omega. And that's what he wants us to do. He wants us to see the beginning and the end. And this is the best way I can teach you. So what I'm going to do right now is that before I tell you what happened with that naked thing that went on in that tent that day, I got to take a bit of a break, right? And I'm going to take a break. And I'll be right back. Now, I want to remind everybody that we told you last night from the Open Rewards prayer meeting that you have the right, the book of Numbers. I'll give it to you, not now. I'll give it to you later. But I remember, we had a good time last night. I pray that your parents are watching as well, some of y'all young people, and all of y'all who want the house to be, get that coronavirus thing. All right, I'm going to take a break, and I'll be right back with more of the trust of the Lord and looking through the telescope. Looking through the telescope. And now we're up to Genesis chapter 9. Mr. Engineer, take me to a break. I'm James Evan Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant.
5 billion people around the world don't have access to safe, affordable surgical and anesthesia care. It's not something that we can ignore and hope that it fixes itself.
Mercy Ships is a unique organization. We bring all of the infrastructure services that we need to operate a world-class hospital on a ship. It's a powerful tool.
We experience how lives have been changed, how people have been transformed, simply with the gift of surgery.
Now that the coronavirus, a lot of people are afraid to send their children to schools, especially the public school system, and I tell you, I don't blame you. It is very risky in the public school system, and so a number of parents have taken to homeschooling. And if you're out of state or even out of the region of New York City, the 5 boroughs of New York or the northern part of New Jersey, and you want to homeschool your children, let us be a homeschool assistant. We have a bona fide jam up and jelly tight education system here at the Outlaw School System, from kindergarten all the way up through high school, and we do a great job. We produce lawyers, doctors, architects, artists. I mean, God has literally laughed on us as an education institution, and it's just given great blessings. Some of the best institutions in America, our students are accepted at. And we recently had one of our students graduate cum laude. That's the first. That is a first, and we need to make note of that. While we have students that have been accepted at Yale, at Juilliard, at New York University, and a number of other very prestigious schools, our first cum laude has happened in our institution, and that's a first that we need to make sure that the education system, the Outlaw School System acknowledges that. But what I want to say to you, if you're planning on homeschooling your children, register with our online homeschool assistance program. We have an online homeschool assistance program where you can register. You're living in Houston, you're homeschooling your children, but we can come alongside you every day, and we'll assign a special teacher to work with you and your children so that they will not be completely isolated. And you know that even though you're the parent, you're not fully qualified to teach them in every subject matter that they need to be taught in. It will be a wise thing for you to call our ministry at number 877-777-0734. Ask to speak to Elizabeth Manning. The number is 877-777-0734, and ask to speak to Elizabeth Manning. The number is 877-777-0734, and ask to speak to Elizabeth Manning. And go ahead and let us work alongside of you, because you, I mean, as loving as you are as a parent, you just aren't qualified to do all that is necessary. We can be of great assistance to you on your schooling program for your children. You will come in contact with someone who is infected with the coronavirus. And you can be right there in your own home, on your own doorstep. You are going to come in contact with someone who has the coronavirus.
On Thursday, March 5th, Heather Bauer went to a casual dinner party in her town of Westport, Connecticut. 4 days later, she felt achy and feverish. She had a temperature of 101. 5 days after that, she was in the coronavirus ward at Yale Hospital, fearing that she would die.
I believe that as many as 20 to 40,000 people from Fort Greene to Harlem, New York City will die.
A well-known ER doctor here in New York who battled to save the lives of so many others. Her family now says she has taken her own life.
What we see happening is simply the hand of God in the dismantling of an unjust society. All right, so Jesus says in Revelation chapter 22, verse 13, he says, I am Genesis and I am Revelation. I'm the Old Testament and the New Testament. I am the beginning and the end. Now, great point. we are going to, most of us will see the end. Right? We will actually see it ourselves with our own naked eyes. We'll participate and hear it with our own ears. We will see the tribulation as we're seeing it now, and many of us will see the 1,000-year reign of peace, and many of us will see when Jesus descends from glory. We will see that, the end. What we're trying to do now with the telescope is see the beginning. You got me? So how do we do that? So we're now doing a systematic Bible study. We will see, many of us, some of you will not, but many of us will. We will not taste of death. We will actually see with our own eyes and hear with our own ears. We will see and hear the end, the Omega. That we have an opportunity to see, the way Adam and Eve had an opportunity to see the beginning. But we've taken our Holy Ghost telescope, right? That's our name, our Holy Ghost telescope. We're taking our Holy Ghost telescope and we looked all the way back to the book of Genesis, right? To chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. Now, so we readjusted our telescope and we pulled it all the way back to Genesis chapter 9. Maybe 50,000 years or more could have taken place within that period of time. That segment of time on the timeline from Genesis to the birth of Cain and Abel to the flood and the assuaging of the flood waters and Noah getting down off the boat, planting a vineyard and getting drunk, and then his boy Ham coming in and seeing him drunk. That could have been 50,000 to 100,000 years. It could have been somewhere within that. I'd imagine maybe as much as 100,000 years. So we're looking at this through our telescope, right? Our Holy Ghost telescope. Now, so where did we left off? We left off before the break. We left off with Noah now being told by the two snitches, Shem and Japheth, his brother and the knee baby, right? They told Noah, because Noah didn't know he was drunk, they told Noah that Ham, which is my father, they snitched on him. They told Noah that Ham went in the tent. I don't know what they're going there looking for, but he saw your nakedness, and that ticked Noah off. I don't know what got him so mad about that. But Noah said, "Cursed be Canaan." Now, Canaan was Ham's young boy. Proud, strong, wise. And Noah woke up here because Noah was King Noah. He had all the power on planet Earth. He had the power. Everybody else had been drowned in the flood. Everybody. Noah was King Noah. What he said went. Right? And God liked Noah. The Bible says that in Genesis chapter 6 that Noah found grace in the eyes of God. So Noah said, "Cursed be Canaan, and a servant of servants shall he be to Shem and to Japheth." And that's what that was. That's what Ham, then Ham moved. Then the whole story. So we're looking through the telescope, right? And we see, and we got a microphone on the end of the telescope, and we can actually hear the curse. And Canaan's sitting there, and he's looking at that, and Ham's sitting there, and he's looking at it, and they're all looking at it, and Noah goes back to sleep again. And next thing you know, there's another son named Nahor, then another named Terah, and next thing you know, in a couple of chapters, we got a fellow named Abraham. Now, Abraham was one of the great-grandsons of Shem, the Shemite, the oldest boy, Abraham was. But he and his wife and his family, they were living in a land called the Chaldees, which is a concoction of Iran, Iraq, some parts of Saudi Arabia, in that general region is where they were living. And they were moon worshipers. They really weren't, they didn't know anything about God. They just didn't, even though Noah was a preacher of righteousness. So Abraham's family, they worshiped the moon. When the moon came out at night, they'd all sit around and pray and chant. And Abraham rather, and his father Terah and all the people in Ur, right? Now, one of the reasons why Noah worshiped the moon was because my father Ham worshiped the sun. Yeah. See, my father Ham that moved to Egypt, he was a sun worshiper. And Abraham, Shem, who moved to the Chaldees, they were moon worshipers, right? Yes. My father, the name of my father's God, at the time, he was a false god, obviously, was Re. And a Ra, depending on how you want to say it, R-A. And the Hamites, which my father in Egypt, they worshiped the sun. And they believed that every a season or so, that an egg would be found floating on the Nile River, and out of that egg would come a baby boy would be born, and the baby boy would be a Pharaoh, and he would be the son of God. And that was hatched by the egg that was given by the sun. That's what my father Ham believed. Can you imagine that? So if you take your telescope, I told you, if you take your telescope and look all the way back, you'll see that the Egyptians, pharaohs, they thought came from the sun, and the egg landed on the Nile River, and out of that was a baby born in the egg, and then he became the Pharaoh. That's why when Jochebed, who was Moses' mother, put him in the Nile River, put him in a little basket, right? And when Pharaoh's daughter saw Moses in the basket, it was the same as what my father and many of his fathers and Pharaohs before him for years had believed that's where gods came from, that gods came from the Nile River. They were in an egg, and it was the sun that hatched them. So you can imagine the excitement of Pharaoh's daughter when she found Moses floating on the Nile River. And Pharaoh probably knew Moses was a Jew. I'm sure he did. But because it was so close to the way the Pharaohs were born themselves, he let Moses stay in his house. He was 40 years old, and Moses got beside himself and killed the guy, and that was the end of that. But Abraham, going back to Abraham, back to Terah, Nahor, and Abram, they were moon worshipers. They do their chants at night, until God spoke to him one night and told him, get up and leave your father and all these moon worshipers and go to a land that I will show you. And don't bring anybody with you. But he took Eleazar with him. He took Lot. It was a mess. But at any rate, God then blessed Abram and told him, this land that you walk from Dan to Beersheba, that all of this land wherever the soles of your foot shall trod, I'm going to give to you, and I'm going to make you a mighty and a great nation. We find ourselves now from Genesis chapter 9 to Genesis chapter 11, then Genesis chapter 12, looking through the telescope. Looking through the telescope, right? And so that's how all that stuff got started. Now, what we are finding in the midst here is that there are no commandments, right? There's no punishment, right? There is no form of worship, none of that. People are pretty much worshiping now. You got my father Ham, of all things, and he should have known better, out there worshiping the sun. You go to Egypt now, you see pictures of the sun all over everywhere. They still got a lot of that sun business in them, They thought that all life came from the sun. It was a good guess, but it was wrong. I think it was better than the guess of Abraham and his father, who thought that all life came from the moon. Who would think that, right? So when you look back through the telescope, so all of this, now we get a clear picture what Jesus says that he was in the beginning. And you have to do this. If you don't do this, you just get them start preaching 1 Corinthians chapter 13, or now by the faith, hope, and love, and charity, and all this, that, and the other, or you start talking in tongues. It don't make no sense. Unless it's rooted. You can't just say part of God's word I ain't going to jiggy with, I ain't going to deal with, I'm just going to deal with what I like. And it's ridiculous. People talking about the Old Testament's irrelevant. If the Old Testament's irrelevant, then the New Testament doesn't exist. Because you can't get the new without the old. And anyway, my friends, I gotta stop right there. So next time we get together, make sure you bring your telescope back with you, all right? Bring your telescope back with you. next time we get together. Now, I want to remind you that we're writing the book of, because we're going to complete this. I'm not finished with y'all. I'm going to take y'all all the way through the Bible on this telescope, the Alpha Omega series. So hang tight, don't go nowhere. But I explained last night, and it was extraordinary worship last night. Good Lord have mercy. Woo! I explained to you that I would start a new Bible writing. I know y'all been writing like crazy because it's a lot of writing, but it's okay. The Lord is blessing you. Every time you write, the Lord blesses you. Good God Almighty. So now we're going to write the book of Numbers, right? And we're going to start writing today, Numbers chapter 22. And today you only got to write 20 verses. Praise God, because the last 6 days you've been writing 44 verses a day, and that was a humdinger. So today you write Numbers chapter 22, verses 1 through 20. And then tomorrow you'll write Numbers chapter 22, verse 21 through 41. And then Saturday you'll write Numbers chapter 23, starting at verse 1 through 15. That's a short day. That'll be a short day. Saturday, Sabbath day, anyway. And then on Sunday, the 11th of October, you'll write Numbers chapter 23, verse 16 through 30. That's a short day again. And then on October, the 12th of Monday, you'll write Numbers chapter 24, verses 1 through 12. Short day, days are getting shorter. And then on Tuesday, the final day, you'll write Numbers chapter 24, verses 13 through 25. Right? Numbers 22, 23, 24. All right, my friends. So I wanted to be able to say those things to you. Now, we will get together again next time for the Trust in the Lord teaching. Bring your telescope. Mr. Engineer, take me out of this segment. I'm James Evan Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant.
It isn't just about making bent legs straight. It's about enabling these children to re-enter society. Someday they can marry, they can get a job, they can work. It really, truly gives them their life back.
Their medical photos that we take kind of show it all. Their pre-op picture, none of them are smiling and they all look really scared. And then in their post-op picture, they have the biggest smiles on and they're so happy. I mean, it's only 2 pictures, but you can see that a journey has happened.
They never even dared to dream before, and now suddenly it's reality that they can dream and that these dreams could actually come true.
Now that the coronavirus, a lot of people are afraid to send their children to schools, especially the public school system, and I tell you, I don't blame you. It is very risky in the public school system, and so a number of parents have taken to homeschooling. And if you're out of state or even out of the region of New York City, the 5 boroughs of New York or the northern part of New Jersey, and you want to homeschool your children, let us be an homeschool assistant. We have a bona fide jam up and jelly tight education system here at the Outlaw School System, from kindergarten all the way up through high school, and we do a great job. We produce lawyers, doctors, architects, artists. I mean, God has literally laughed on us as an education institution, and has just given great blessings. Some of the best institutions in America, our students are accepted at. And we recently had one of our students graduate cum laude. That's the first. That is a first, and we need to make note of that. While we have students that have been accepted at Yale, at Juilliard, at New York University, and a number of other very prestigious schools, our first cum laude has happened in our institution, and that's a first that we need to make sure that the education system, the Outlaw School System, acknowledges that. But what I want to say to you, if you're planning on homeschooling your children, register with our online homeschool assistance program. We have an online homeschool assistance program where you can register. You're living in Houston, you're homeschooling your children, but we can come alongside you every day, and we'll assign a special teacher to work with you and your children so that they will not be completely isolated. And you know that even though you're the parent, you're not fully qualified to teach them in every subject matter that they need to be taught in. It would be a wise thing for you to call our ministry at number 877-777-0734. Ask to speak to Elizabeth Manning. The number is 877-777-0734, and ask to speak to Elizabeth Manning. The number is 877-777-0734, and ask to speak to Elizabeth Manning. And go ahead and let us work alongside of you, because you, I mean, as loving as you are as a parent, you just aren't qualified to do all that is necessary. We can be of great assistance to you on your schooling program for your children. All right, now listen again. The writing of the scriptures are very, very important. Because it's a part of the process of learning the Alpha and the Omega. And this Alpha and Omega series has been an extraordinary time. We've not fasted in nearly 3 years. I mean, if you had told me several years ago that we could go 3 years without fast and then enjoy the kind of blessings that we have been enjoying, it's just been absolutely incredible. And so I thank God that our school is operational. I thank God to see, I saw some of the students the other day. It was just a sight for the soul. It was just a real blessing to see. I haven't seen all of them, but, and then I'm going to try to gather them together and see, because it's just so much joy to see them coming out of all the summer they had to stay home. And so we're giving God the praise for all the wonderful and extraordinary things that we're doing. Now remember, again, you will, between 7 o'clock in the mornings and 12 noon, you'll get a rebroadcast, and we're going to try to keep the rebroadcast very varied, so it'll be continually be exciting. You would not have seen it, but you can really listen to any teaching I do 7 times, whether it be the Manning Report or the Trust and Lord Hour, and it will still be efficacious. I suppose is the best way to say that, right? So So keep logged on, and then the live hour starts at 12 noon every day, Trust in the Lord, and then the live hour for the Manning Report starts at 1 p.m. every day. All right, Mr. Engineer, go ahead and take us to Bob Jackson and Diara, and stay tuned also for the Manning Report. You're really going to be blessed by that. You don't want to miss today's Manning Report. You don't want to miss it. I'm James Evan Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant.
God says, I'm growing weary of all your feast and sacrifice. When you assemble before me, but you ain't been living right. I've seen you shout, I've heard you sing, but all that noise don't mean a thing till you break the bonds and loose the chains. I tell you that's my kind of praise. someone else before you pray. I want to bless if you'll obey. I see your heart, now mend your ways. I tell you that's my kind of praise. That all good music is mighty sweet. I like to hear it, but it ain't complete till you find a sheep that's gone astray and feed the poor along the way. Start cleaning up the mess you made. I tell you that's my kind of praise. The hymns you sing, sweet in my ear, but still my favorite thing to hear is the sound of feet out visiting. I tell you that's my kind of praise. That light will break through, I'll make a way. When you're in trouble, just call my name. I'll be your rock, I'll guard your way. You'll be my witness every day, and see your works, glorify my name. I tell you that's my kind of praise. And see your works, glorify my name. I tell you that's my kind of praise. I tell you that's my kind of praise. I tell you that's my kind of praise. But you can sing anyway.
I know you think that I shouldn't still love you or tell you that. Well, if I didn't say it, well, I still have felt it. And where's the sense in that? I promise I'm not trying to make your life harder or return to where we were. But I will go down with this ship, and I will put my hands up and surrender. There will be no white flag above my door. I'm in love and always will be. I know I left too much mess and destruction to come back again. And I caused nothing but trouble. I understand if you won't talk to me again. And if you live by the rules of it's over, then I'm sure that that makes sense. But I will go down with this ship, and I will put my hands up and surrender. There will be no white flag above my door, 'cause I'm in love and always. And when we meet, which I'm sure we will, all that was there will be there still. And I'll let it pass and hold my tongue, and you will think that I moved on. And I won't put my hands up and surrender. There will be no white flag above my door, 'cause I'm in love and always will. I will go down with this ship, and I won't put my hands up and surrender. There will be no white flag above my door, 'cause I'm in love and always will be. And we will go down with this ship, and we won't put our hands up and surrender. There will be no white flag above our doors, 'cause we're in love and always will.
Welcome, everybody, to the Manning Report. I am Manning, the quintessential American, broadcasting from our studio located in our church building, and our church building located in the community formerly known as Harlem, New York City. But God Almighty has changed the name of this community to Atla. How's everybody doing today? We pray that all is well with you, and actually you might not find this on most newscasts or even social media talk events, but I have prayed for some of y'all, and maybe, a lot of the people I pray for, I don't even know who they are, many of them. And potentially there's some people out there, and the Lord knowing my heart and knowing all things, know that for some of you I did not pray for, but that doesn't mean I'm against you. That doesn't mean a thing at all. And we certainly are open to prayer requests here at the Outlaw World Missionary Church. Now, did you watch that debate last night? I did. I was wide-eyed and bushy-tailed last night, and my first tweet last night was, "Holy Toledo, Vice President Pence has got a fly on his head." That's all I could think about that. That was my first tweet. I guess it's good to have a great music repertoire, memory of songs of many, many years ago. That's the man, the Twist Man, from way back in the 1960s. Chubby Checker, that's him. Had that one called The Fly. And rather than my making comments about this here, a lot of people saw the post, and I'm going to read some of the things that they said about this. Kathy Kaufman writes to me in a post, in a comment rather. She said, "The Fly even chose Pence over Harris." Well, if you think so, I mean, Kathy, that's where you are. I'm not sure you're right. I mean, if it's a fly, if I'm going to be chosen, if we got to choose our presidents by flies, you know that flies are winged maggots. You do know that, right? So, and the Kimberly Tobias writes, "You could see the fly on his pretty white hair." Then it flew over and landed in Kamala's pretty black hair. You just couldn't see that. Petsy little things. I didn't see it. I'm sorry, Kimberly. I cannot allow that to be posted as truth. We'll have to fact check you. I don't think that fly went over to see Kamala rather. I wouldn't care if it did. I just want to fact check you. Gary Stromey writes, "James Manning, I have a James Manning doll in my hand, and I'm sticking it with a pin. Do you feel the pain?" Yeah! I guess the guy, we if you're down in Haiti somewhere, this voodoo stuff. They got a voodoo doll of me. I guess the guy don't like me. Is that what it is, man? I mean, why? Minister Marsha Carges writes, "It came off of Calama." Well, I can't verify that. I have to fact check that as well. When I saw the fly coming, he was coming directly down. But anyway, Craig Fisher writes, "Manning, 2024. Guess they want me to run for president. I don't do that kind of stuff, Craig. I appreciate your faith in me and confidence in me, but I don't do that. I don't run for politics. I don't do that. Frank Campius, right? Yep, the fly won the debate. As far as I'm concerned, I agree. That's the first thing I agree with. Glenda Campbell writes, and Frank is dream on, right? Now, Louise Johnson says, you catch more flies with honey, so we know who smelled the best. I mean, I've heard that we catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. I've just never been about the business of catching flies, but I'm not going to refute this. I mean, I've heard it as a proverb for many years, but I'm not in the business of catching flies. Your flies are winged maggots. That's what they are. They are hatched from a maggot. Denise George said she lied so much. I guess it's talking about Kamala Harris, the fly. You're talking about the fly. Was the fly a female fly? I don't know. Angie Henson said Pence Pence and the fly 2024. Roger Smith writes Pence 2020. That's not very creative, Roger. You got to be a little bit better than that. I mean, you got an American flag, but come on. And you better not let Donald Trump see this either. He will kill Pence if he saw that. Anyway, John Espinoza says, Roger Williams, get off them drugs, dude. I didn't know it was on drugs. Anyway, so Roger Smith says here a question. David Johnson said, it came from Uranus. I guess he's talking about a planet. That's what the fly, it had a long journey. Otis Adams said, look out, the fly picked the winner. Okay, I mean, all right. I mean, if you think, what's the name won last night? I won't disagree with that. And I won't disagree. I mean, I'm not agreeing with the fly because I don't know what the fly was thinking about last night. It said, Julian Billings says, the Donald Trump triumphs 2020. I don't know what that means. Oh, I left a comment on ABC. Oh my God, the fly on Pence's head says omen. I guess, and the Hillarian had a fly land on her face during one of the debates against Trump in 2016. Beelzebub is known as the Lord of the Flies in Matthew 24:27, 12:24 through verse 27. In Exodus, I don't know about that. In Exodus, there are 10 plagues against Egypt and the Egyptians, and OB1 Pharaoh 444 Barakatan 666. The fourth plague was the plague of the flies, which came against the Egyptians, not the Israelites. All right. And they got a fly landed on Hillary too. So does that mean that Pence is going to lose because Hillary got the snot beat out of her? And oh my God, omen, the fly, I don't ignore God's warning. So, okay, I don't know who writes that. Ruth Ruby writes to Julian Billings, sorry, but the same fly was on Kamala's head also, just not as noticeable. I was watching pretty good. I don't have to fact check that. So I'm not going to let your statement stand as true, Ruby. And then Otis Adams writes, Trump. Gary Matthews writes, Camel Harris. That's a good one. Jason Bush writes, Pence smoked her. And David Wilkinson writes, it's a preacher, David Wilkinson. He wrote the crossing the switchblade. He's dead now. Kamaliah. These are some good names. I like these. What's this name here? Camel Harris. Like the camel-back. And then this one says Kamaliah. I like that one too. And Quinta Richards writes LMAOOOOO. You know what that means? I can't tell you what it says. Van Drill writes, at least she's dressed and heels on the floor for a change. Willie Brown. That's that guy who used to be the mayor of San Francisco. he and Kamala Harris was getting it on for a goodly while to somebody. Her husband caught it and busted it up. Donna Turnbull, all right, Pence did a great job. On the other hand, the evil Harris told lie after lie and was given a soft glove treatment from a liberal moderator. Mr. Engineer, one more again for the fly. Just one more time, and take me out of this segment once you do. This was so funny last night. I'm James Evan Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant.
Maro mihitsy olo miteny. Maro zany le olo miteny fa misy sasany miteny izy zanakanao lera za tsy mahavoataiza ny mihitsy. De eka oa, fanjara koa izy ty fa defa tezaiko foana fa ataoko zay mahabe anazy.
It is a belief that a cleft can be a curse, so often even from when they're born they are rejected children.
Efa voateraka izy efa hitany ma izy nisy problème de izy niteny hoe tsy zanako hoe mitaranaka anay tsisy an'io de izy boko lasa de izy raha vaviko amizay zao nanampinampy anakaty.
If we can change her life early when she's still young, then she can just live a normal life and be a normal person, and it will make a massive difference to her whole life. It's not just the physical appearance, it's being able to eat and also speech.
Mety gaga donc olo mahita anazy amizao io.
This is about really changing people's lives. It's not just a few individuals, it's individuals that make up communities. They can be re-established in their village a lot easier when they look more normal.
Now that the coronavirus, a lot of people are afraid to send their children to schools, especially the public school system, and I tell you, I don't blame you. It is very risky in the public school system, and so a number of parents have taken to homeschooling. And if you're out of state or even out of the region of New York City, the 5 boroughs of New York or the northern part of New Jersey, and you want to homeschool your children, let us be a homeschool assistant. We have a bona fide jam up and jelly tight education system here, the Outlaw School System, from kindergarten all the way up through high school, and we do a great job. We produce lawyers, doctors. All right, I want to interrupt this segment because we're getting breaking news out of Michigan, where it appears that the FBI is now reading a report of a militia group that plotted to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretschner, so we're going to bring this up. We need to probably move that logo, and we can then try to find out exactly what's going on. This is a breaking news story, and it's I really have a lot of other things I want to report today, but this is important. If there was a plot that's been indicted by, that's been uncovered by the FBI, and they're making this report today at this time so close to the election. But bring it up, Mr. Engineer. Let's see what we got here.
State Police, Colonel Joe Gasper. Thank you, Attorney General Nessel, U.S. Attorneys Burge and Schneider, and thank you to the FBI also. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone today. And I'd first like to start out by saying thank you to the men and women of the Michigan State Police, the FBI, and any additional agencies that assisted in this investigation. They not only worked tirelessly over the course of the last 24 to 48 hours, but also since the beginning of this investigation. So thank you, job well done. To the partners here today, I want to express our gratitude for the support and the cooperation, the partnership that all of us here are demonstrating. This case is one of the largest cases in recent history that the MSP has been involved in, and I think that the nature of this case is rather unprecedented, but it does send a very vivid reminder that while we may be in a time period of discourse, possibly even divisiveness and fighting across the nation, law enforcement stands united. And for those who think that law enforcement is distracted, let me assure you that we are very much engaged with taking our responsibility to protect the public very seriously. We took an oath to protect and defend and to serve, and together we will take swift action against anyone who is planning or seeking to commit violence or harm to anyone in the state of Michigan. Thank you again for the cooperation, and I will now turn it back to Attorney General Nessel.
Okay, well, unfortunately, it appears as though FBI Assistant Special Agent Hawkshurst has not made it with us in time, but is he here? He's on his way? Okay, well, if he gets here when I'm done speaking, I will try to speak slowly so that we can make time for his appearance. But anyway, thanks again to the Colonel and to, of course, U.S. Attorneys Burge and Schneider. The FBI, state police, everyone's effort here, so important. But I'd like to announce that my office has filed additional charges in addition to the charges
There's a plot that's been uncovered, and several people have been arrested. 6 persons, I think, today, just recently, who had plotted to kidnap the governor of Michigan. And they foiled that kidnapping. The FBI has been able to track it, along with the Michigan State Police. The announcement was made by the attorney for the Eastern District, the federal attorney for the Eastern District, and we're having comments now by others in that process as well.
The individuals in custody are suspected to have attempted to identify the home addresses of law enforcement officers in order to target them, made threats of violence intended to instigate a civil war, and engaged in planning and training for an operation to attack the Capitol building of Michigan and to kidnap government officials, including the governor of Michigan. Now, it's important to note that these charges are subject to change after a complete review of the evidence obtained last night and may differ from those charged at the federal level. So we've issued the following charges against the following individuals. Paul Beller, age 21, of Milford, who is charged with 3 felony counts, providing material support for terrorist acts, a 20-year felony and or $20,000 fine, gang membership, a 20-year felony which may be served as a consecutive sentence, carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony, otherwise known as felony firearm, a 2-year mandatory prison sentence to be served consecutive to the other charges. Sean Fix, age 38, of Belleville, charged with 2 felony counts, providing material support for terrorist acts, a 20-year felony, carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony firearm. Eric Mull.
All right, we're waiting for it to rewind itself here and get back on track.
Age 36, of Cadillac, charged with 2 felony counts, providing material support for terrorist acts, and carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony firearm. Michael Knoll, age 38, of Plainwell, charged with 2 felony counts, providing material support for terrorist acts, and carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony firearm. William Knoll, of Shelbyville, charged with 2 felony counts, providing material support for terrorist acts, and carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony firearm. And finally, Pete Musico, age 42, and Joseph Morrison, age 42, who lived together in Munich. And these men are both charged with 4 felony counts, 1 count of threat of terrorism, a 20-year felony, and or $20,000 fine, 1 count of gang membership, again, a 20-year felony that may
All right, we're having some difficulties receiving this stream.
Is a consecutive sentence, 1 count each of providing material support for terrorist acts, and 1 count each for carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony firearm. And before I continue with my remarks, I see that FBI Assistant Special Agent in Charge Josh Hawkshurst is here, and I'd like to bring him up for a few remarks.
Good morning. Thank you. On behalf of the FBI in Michigan, I would like to thank you and our partners of the U.S. Attorney's offices of both the Western and Eastern Districts of Michigan and the Michigan Attorney General's Office and the Michigan State Police. The primary mission of the FBI is to protect the American people and uphold the Constitution. This investigation is an example of our continued commitment to that mission to both protect the people of this state and to adhere to the rights reserved by the Constitution. The alleged conspirators are extremists who undertook a plot to kidnap a sitting governor. Whenever extremists move into the realm of actually plotting or planning violent acts, the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force stands ready to identify, disrupt, and dismantle their operations, preventing them from following through on those plans. An operation of this scope cannot occur without the assistance of law enforcement agencies, large and small. We are incredibly proud of the work of our agents, task force officers, and law enforcement partners during last night's operation and throughout the course of this investigation. We rely on the public's assistance to help keep us safe. If you see suspected criminal activity and want to report to the FBI, please call 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit tips online at tips.fbi.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Special Agent. Well, with that, I just want to do a few things. First of all, I think it's important to give a shout out, at least to my staff, since I have the ability to do that.
I think we can break away at this point as the Attorney General for the state of Michigan, Dana Nessel, is concluding things. And there have been a number of speakers there, both the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern and the Western District, and of course the Special Agent in Charge was there, and the police officers and the Michigan State Police. Apparently they have uncovered over the past couple of weeks this plot to kidnap several government officials in the state of Michigan, including Governor Gretschner, to add as a part of this militia. And we don't know what their ultimate end was, but they have been arrested now and charged with felony counts, as you heard read there, and for the moment. Rather than taking a break, because we had not planned this interrupted news break, today I'm going to go right to my next segment, which says that, which points up and looks at the fact that there is great social and racial unrest in America today. And I sent out a tweet, and I'll just read a portion of it, and then I'll try to give some clarity about what I see happening. And I tweeted earlier this morning that to understand the deep passion of this election, and the deep passion for and against Trump and Obama, one must understand Donald Trump is the trigger of the tribulation. And the tribulation is an outlining of scriptures, statements made by Jesus in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 24, verses 1 through 31, where effectively what God does is similar to what God did in the days of Noah, where he just deconstructs everything. and from there moves into a new period called the 1,000-year reign of peace. But I've lived on this planet and lived in America, and I have never seen the tensions and the amount of hatred and the amount of angst against persons of presidential parties and political parties in my entire existence. I'm somewhat of a student of history. I don't have a degree in history, but I'm somewhat of a student of American history. And I don't remember in historical times where the division of America has been or was as deep as it is now. There's a division in America that I'm afraid cannot be put back together again. I don't see unity. I don't see America coming together again. There was, of course, during the Reconstruction period after the Civil War, an attempt to reconstruct. And it wasn't the best, but it had some potential. I don't see it coming together again. And let me say this, I'm not blaming either party. I'm not blaming the people who support Trump. And let me just clear the air here. You know, I once endorsed Donald Trump, and I endorsed him because I was a birther, and I'm still a birther. And Trump, I thought, was a birther. At least he expressed he was for several years. But in order to gain the White House, it was explained to me that Trump had to deny that he was a birther and had to validate that Obama was actually born in Hawaii, as Obama stated. Now, we all know that Obama lied. We know that he lied. We know that he's not natural born. We know that he's a fraud. But when Trump stepped forward and said Obama's not a fraud, that he was born in Hawaii, I jumped off the Trump train, not only to mention the fact that Trump also went ahead and waved the rainbow flag at his convention. Now, he did all of this in order to be able to get the votes of certain types of people, hoping to get enough votes to win the election. I could no longer support a man like that. There's no way. I gave my life, and I still give my life. I'm still a birther. And anyone, when Trump denied what he had stated about Obama and now verified that Obama was natural born, there's no way I could ever give my supporters follow anyone who could make such a adverse change of lies and untruth. I want to say that. I also want to state that, of course, you know, God named Obama the long-legged Mac Daddy. So I'm not a Democrat. I'm not for Biden and Kamala Harris either. I'm for neither. I want to be clear about that. I want you to understand that. And I will speak the truth about both of them. I've noticed something. I used to know a lot of people that were definitely against Obama and definitely understood that he was not natural born. But when Trump said he was natural born, they let it go. Their integrity, their sense of morality, their sense of ethics did not trouble them. They said, well, the end justifies the means. If he has to lie to win the presidency, we will go along with that. Unfortunately, what they did not realize when Trump did that 4 years ago, that he would tell another 27,000 lies, and they've had to swallow each one of those in order to continue to maintain their efficacy. But there's something else going on deeper in America with these groups. Again, the Obama supporter see him as a god. I have to tell you that as a result of Obama, he's done more to hurt the Hamite people. You may call them African Americans or black. But Obama has done more to hurt, to destroy, to dismantle, to castrate. Obama has castrated more black men than the Ku Klux Klan could do in 1,000 years with same-sex marriage. But also he has dethroned the power of the pulpit of churches. If there's one thing the black church had, it had a sense of spirituality. And it would not buy nor bow down to homosexuality. And pastors were strong on that wise. Obama came and sang Amazing Grace, and all these pastors just rolled over, grabbed both anchors and dropped their pants, and Obama stuck it in. It is painful. It is what he has done to the black man. is just unforgivable. Now I know why there was a lake of fire. Forget about hell. You might be able to be forgiven out of hell, but the lake of fire is for the unforgiven. And what Obama did to the black man, to the black church, to the castration, to the taking away of the black man's, and he worships him. There has been the Jesus speaking to the Pharisees and Sadducees in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 23. In one of those verses, he not only calls them snakes, the religious leaders of his day, and hypocrites, but he calls them fools. And I have to tell you, there is no fool like the black man who worships Obama. In fact, even before he worshiped Obama, he had become there was no fool. Now, understand this. I live in Harlem, and God has sent me to him. God has sent me to him. So it isn't that I'm saying this because I want to make him look bad. He already looks bad. There ain't nothing I can say to make the black man look raggedy, poor, homeless, defenseless, jobless, unemployed, out of touch with the world. There's nothing I can say to add to what he already is. He already is a misfit. And those who have jobs and have homes are sellouts. They are traitors. They are the worst kind of hypocrites. So there's nothing. And when you look at him compared to the other structure of races of men, he is at the bottom of the totem pole. Having said that, I want you to know I'm not for Obama, but I'm also not for Tribulation Trump. And I can tell you this. Many of you rejoice when I said that God said Obama's a long-legged Mac Daddy, and you love to hear me say it now. You're not rejoicing so much when I say that God also said tribulation, that Donald Trump is the trigger of the tribulation. But just for a moment, I want you to think on this, and I promise not to inflict myself upon you any further. That you have never, even you in the short-lived life that you've lived and the limited amount of history that you know, you have never seen a time like this. You've never seen a time like this. And you've never seen America and a president act the way this man is acting. It's just, he's uncouth, he's crude, he's rude. I mean, he's not the kind of person you want to sit down and go to and have a conversation with. He's ignorant, he acts buffoonery, he's pompous, he's delusional, he's pathological. You would just never think that America, as great as she is, would have someone like this. Okay, you swallowed that and it happened. But then to know there's 10 to 20 to maybe 30 million people who don't care how base, how crude, how delusional, how much he lies, they don't love him because of that. They love him because they have such a deep hatred for the potential that Obama and his crowd might rise again. Plus, they have been feeling the pain as a lesser group, a lesser child, as a stepchild in America. They have been feeling the pain of the civil rights since Dr. King. They've been feeling the pain of the civil rights since John Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson, and more marginalizing their way of life, more and more marginalizing their sense of white supremacy. They have been feeling that pain for many, many years. And they don't worship Trump because he's a liar. They know that he is, but he's got one carrot that he dangles in front of them. I will use the almighty powers of the White House and the American government to give you your position as a white man again. And they don't care about his debauchery. They feel that the ends justifies the means, something spoken long before Trump himself was ever hatched. But I'll say this, that there needs to be a sense of integrity in men. There ought to be some roads that roads that I just won't go down. I will not. I will not. You know, I sent out a post earlier today saying that we here at the Outlaw World Missionary Church accept beggars, liars, thieves, homeless people, homosexuals, murderers, whatever. They knock on our door. We welcome you. We've done it for 39 years and we'll continue to do it. But there is an exception. You come to our door at the church without a mask and refuse to put one on, you can't come into our church. I'll say one further thing. I was watching the nomination of Judge Amy Coney Barrett there on the east lawn of the White House, and all those people sitting there, no mask, et cetera, et cetera. And you wonder, why do those people go there? Because they're all looking for something from Trump. And they want to support him. So they risk their lives by not wearing a mask. I'm going to tell you something. Trump could send an invitation to me written in engraven gold, asking me to come to an event at the White House. And he could send a gold-plated limousine to fly me to his private jet and put me on a private jet and fly me to Andrews and then put me in the Oval Office. He could send all of that, but I'm talking for myself now. Me, James David Manning, because I know who Trump is, because I know the man he is, and I know the reason why his support base is not because he's a man of integrity, not that God is using him, he's of the devil, par excellence. I would refuse an invitation. Anything that Trump invited me to, I would not attend. I could not stoop down that low. I'd rather go inside of Bo McFarland's toilet, which was an outhouse in North Carolina, and stick my hand down in the hole and dig up the maggots before I would accept an invitation from Trump. That's just how vile I think he is. I would not go. One final thing, and I promise not to inflict myself further. Herman Cain, who I supported as well, who wanted something from Trump, like all these others, these people that Diamond and Silk and all these other Hamite people that you see hanging around, they want something from it. They know he's a scum. They know he's the lowest of the low. They know that, but they want something from him. The same way white people want their supremacy back. They want something from him. And so they go, and Herman Cain thought that he could get something. It cost him his life. He's a dead man now. He never thought he'd be dead today. He never thought he'd be dead today. And when Trump told him to take, Herman Cain, a 74-year-old man, let another 74-year-old man tell him to take off his mask at a time when thousands, tens of thousands of people were dying in America because of coronavirus. And Herman Cain let that orange-haired orangutan tell him to take off his mask. And he did it, and he's dead. And I'm going to tell you something. Every person, from the smallest child who carries a Trump sign or wears a MAGA hat or puts out a Trump sign in the yard or goes to a rally or supports their father or rides with them or sits in the house or sits at a dinner, every last one of them who has put on a MAGA hat and has refused to acknowledge how vile this man is, who refused to acknowledge him, you're going to die just like Herman Cain. You're going to die a wretched death, and it will be very mournful what's happening to you. Finally, God is cleaning up both the ignorance, the vileness, the despicableness of the black man. He is despicable. He is. He is. God's cleaning him up. Clearing him out with death, homelessness, and poverty. But he's also going for the Japheth. Black man Hamite, but he's going for the Japheth as well. And there'll be a few left, both Shemites, both Jews, Japheth, Gentiles or whites, and Hamites or black. There'll be a few left. And they will then be those known of the elect at the conclusion of the tribulation. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant. You will come in contact with someone who is infected with the coronavirus. And you can be right there in your own home, on your own doorstep. You are going to come in contact with someone who has the coronavirus.
On Thursday, March 5th, Heather Bauer went to a casual dinner party in her town of Westport, Connecticut. 4 days later, she felt achy and feverish. She had a temperature of 101. 5 days after that, she was in the coronavirus ward at Yale Hospital, fearing that she would die.
I believe that as many as 20 to 40,000 people from Fort Greene to Harlem, New York City will die.
A well-known ER doctor here in New York who battled to save the lives of so many others. Her family now says she has taken her own life.
'What we see happening is simply the hand of God in the dismantling of an unjust society.
Five billion people around the world don't have access to safe, affordable surgical and anesthesia care. It's not something that we can ignore and hope that it fixes itself.
Mercy Ships is a unique organization. We bring all of the infrastructure services that we need to operate a world-class hospital on a ship. It's a powerful tool.
We experience how lives have been changed, how people have been transformed simply with the gift of surgery.
Now that the coronavirus, a lot of people are afraid to send their children to schools, especially the public school system, and I tell you, I don't blame you. It is very risky in the public school system, and so a number of parents have taken to homeschooling. And if you're out of state or even out of the region of New York City, the 5 boroughs of New York or the northern part of New Jersey, and you want to homeschool your children, let us be a homeschool assistant. We have a bona fide jam up and jelly tight education system here at the Outlaw School System, from kindergarten all the way up through high school, and we do a great job. We produce lawyers, doctors, architects, artists. I mean, God has literally laughed on us as an education institution, and it's just given great blessings. Some of the best institutions in America, our students are accepted at. And we recently had one of our students graduate cum laude. That's the first. That is a first, and we need to make note of that. While we have students that have been accepted at Yale, at Juilliard, at New York University, and a number of other very prestigious schools, our first cum laude has happened in our institution, and that's a first that we need to make sure that the education system, the Outlaw School System acknowledges that. But what I want to say to you, if you're planning on homeschooling your children, register with our online homeschool assistance program. We have an online homeschool assistance program where you can register. You're living in Houston, you're homeschooling your children, but we can come alongside you every day, and we'll assign a special teacher to work with you and your children so that they will not be completely isolated. And you know that even though you're the parent, you're not fully qualified to teach them in every subject matter that they need to be taught in. It would be a wise thing for you to call our ministry at number 877-777-0734. Ask to speak to Elizabeth Manning. The number is 877-777-0734, and ask to speak to Elizabeth Manning. The number is 877-777-0734, and ask to speak to Elizabeth Manning. And go ahead and let us work alongside of you, because you, I mean, as loving as you are as a parent, you just aren't qualified to do all that is necessary. We can be of great assistance to you on your schooling program for your children. I am putting together a cadre of persons that will, over the next few years, be ready to take over the $1 trillion economy of Harlem, New York City, and its extraordinary wealth that has been built over the past 25 years, to manage its politics, its local schools, not schools, there'll only be the Outlaw schools, but to manage its local county seats, to manage its council persons, representative, I'm also looking for persons to begin to groom over the next few years to actually run for politically and become the mayor of the city of New York, and also for people to become congresspersons, as Charles Rangel was congressman for this community for so many years, Adam Clayton Powell before him. But also to manage, it was an extraordinary building that's going up in Harlem, 40 stories high, built by the Marriott Hotel, put into plan over 7-8 years ago, long before the coronavirus or before Tribulation Trump. But it is failing completely because the economy of New York is failing. New York is like a ghost town now. People are moving out of the city and back into the suburbs. The tourist industry that Harlem, in particular, New York City, generally depended on this year, just fell flat. And most businesses are closing, and I'm looking for persons to reopen these businesses, to manage that 40-story high Marriott Hotel and other business enterprises as well, the multi-billion-dollar industry that Harlem produces. And so the Outlaw Times will be a segment where I'll come on and talk about this from time to time, maybe once a week or once a day, depending on when there are articles to report on. But I posted up an article earlier today to Mr. Harlem Gentrify, who came up here. I preached for years how beautiful this community was, though it was bombed out, burned out, vacant lots, vacant buildings, homelessness, drug addiction, people sleeping in the streets. Over 35 years ago, I saw the beauty, and I purchased the building that we're in right now. We got it for a song. It's a mansion, but we got it for a song because I saw the beauty of it. And when I married Elizabeth, I told her we're going to live in the building where I purchased. And, you know, that was a bit strange for her, living above a church in Harlem and on, when most pastors live in nice white, lily white neighborhoods with, you know, picket fence and that kind of a thing. But I say, no, I see the beauty of this community. Well, others have seen it as well, and have come up here with the past 25 years and have created a $1 trillion real estate market in this community with the renovations, with the construction work that's gone on over the past 25 years, and really have built some very beautiful houses. They're going to leave them. I put up a post today with a man sleeping on the street, and you see this everywhere you look now. You see this, of men sleeping on the streets in front of these multi-million-dollar condos and brownstone houses. And the people that are living there, that are Japheth people, they're going to move. They're not going to stay there. They're already losing their value and the equity in their homes. And they're going to start selling as quickly as they possibly can before the market completely collapses. And when it does, I want to put into training people to be able to come, and that'll understand. And people that hear me, they understand me. I'm not going the Baptist route, the Pentecostal route, the NAACP route, the Black Lives Matter route, none of that. All of that is just vile, contemptible, if you will, social ideologies from the devil. And I know it. I know it. And but I believe that I'm standing here. We have a few women in our church who are waiting on a righteous man. One woman talked to me the other day and said she's never been kissed. She's never had sexual intercourse, and she doesn't know what it is. And she wanted to, what is it? What is that like? And there are women that are waiting on a righteous man. They've been asked out on dates, but they said, no, I ain't going until I get my righteous man. They're standing on the word of God. And I want to say something to all of you, that I'm standing on God's word. I know that somehow you think that I should be nicer or should not speak as I do, but I'm the Lord's servant. You need to understand, I'm the Lord's servant. He's all I ever need. Listen, I've made it from Rayford Prison and the chain gang to sit in this chair, or to go to the White House, or to lecture at Oxford University, and it was none of the people who are trying to tell me what to do now, or none of the people who I'm trying to help, that got me from the chain gang to Oxford. I got there because of Jesus Christ, the power of the Holy Ghost. I know who I am, and I know I know who I am, and I know who my help comes from the Lord. I know it. And I'm waiting on righteous men. I'm waiting on men and women. Now, a lot of people have come. They've been rejected. A lot of people come because they've had their own ideas. A lot of people come because they're still stuck in the past. But I'm waiting, and I know that God's going to send them. I know that God's going to send them. And when he does, we will fully occupy this community lock, stock, and barrel. So I wanted to get that announcement out. And I want to encourage you to continue to log on to all of our broadcasts on social media. We've got a new time now on our social media, on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube, of broadcasting the Trust in the Lord Hour, a 14-year journey of continuous and contiguous teaching about trusting in the Lord from Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. That goes on an hour every day at 12 noon. And then the Manning Report, a news and information of the stories and news events behind the news that goes on every day. We are live from 12 noon to 2 o'clock now daily, are our new broadcast hours. And I feel so much more refreshed. I can better manage my day by changing our hours from 9 o'clock in the morning to 12 noon. I'm much more refreshed, I'm more invigorated, and I can maximize the day in a much better way. Plus our media and staff can do that as well. So log on, tell everybody that we've got new hours for our broadcasting of the Trust in the Lord and the Manning Report. And we'll see whether or not we'll have a segment later on called the Outlaw Times. I'm James Evan Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant.
Purple Grace presents Purple Grace Exquisite Tea Affair. Now, this affair will not get you into trouble. Taste, drink, and fall in love. Order from Purple's Affair collection today. Do it right now. Want to give a beautiful gift to yourself, a loved one, or a friend? This affair will be perfect. Remember, this affair will not get you into trouble. But this is for any and everyone who desires to partake in this most unique, unusual, delicious, and refreshing affair. Order yours today, right now. Go to purplegrace.com or Purple Grace Tea on Instagram to get all the intimate details. Want a taste of heaven while here on earth? Then order from Purple's Strawberry Love Collection. A hibiscus like no other. Even the angels can drink this. Imagine that. You love it. You know you love it.
These scenes at a hospital in Central Africa may look like an emergency, but at Save the Children, we see this throughout the world every single day. Among the new arrivals is Kayembe. So frail, he can no longer stand. Kayembe is almost 2 years old, but his weight is less than half that of a healthy child his age.
5 grammes de malnutrition.
Kayembe is slowly dying. He needs food, and he needs medicine urgently. These are the basic things that you can help us provide by calling the number on your screen now and giving just $10 a month. That's less than 35 cents a day. We know what it takes to save lives. It takes us, you, and as little as $10 a month. Save the Children is on the ground in the U.S. and all over the world, but we need your help to deliver life-saving medicine, medical care, clean water, and nutritious food to children in desperate need. For a child as critically ill as Kayembe, a single phone call can make the difference. Please, pick up the phone now. For less than 35 cents a day, you can help us save a child's life. Call now and you'll receive this special Save the Children tote bag as a thank you for your support and a reminder of the difference you're making in children's lives. Every day, 19,000 children die from preventable causes. That's one child every 5 seconds. But it doesn't have to be this way. For just $10 a month, you can make a difference. Please, don't put this off. We need your help to get these children the critical medicine, food, and clean water they urgently need.
S'il n'y a pas assez de nourriture à donner aux enfants, les enfants vont mourir.
Call Save the Children now and help us save a child's life.
Several years ago, while traveling in South Africa, and from Johannesburg to Soweto, while I was the house guest staying at Bishop Desmond Tutu's house there in Soweto, a young boy came up to me. He must have been about 9 years old. In fact, there was a whole lot of them came up to me and asked me a couple of questions. And I told them that I was from Harlem, and the smile on their face was as broad as anything you could see. You could see all of their teeth and their tonsils. Harlem, they say, Harlem, 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 he Harlem, he Harlem, he Harlem. And they said, and they didn't know much more, but they know Harlem is the flagship of the Hamite people, the black, the African, the African, if you will, of people that come here, because it has such a famous name and historical, if you will, trek. I want to say this, that at some point, that Almighty God will give us the opportunity to actually make the manifest of the vision of 50,000 righteous men happen here in Harlem. And I'm waiting, and I'll take no substitutes. And we're going to eradicate, we're going to move the curse of poverty, the curse of brokenness, broken homes. We're going to move that poverty, that curse off of the people of Harlem. I believe that God will give us to do it. And the reason why the South African intro was reasonable is because once Harlem stands up as a righteous city of righteous men where poverty and sickness has been broken, and righteous men leave their homes, their fathers to their children, walking them to school in clean and safe streets, men that are leaders in their home, that are leaders in the community, and are leaders in the church, loving their wives, financially supporting them both financially and emotionally and spiritually. When that happens, it will resonate all over Africa. Once Harlem become a light of righteousness, it'll shine deep into Africa, and I'll be able to travel to Africa and break the curse of poverty and brokenness there as well. I'm asking you to pray with me. Most of the messages regarding that particular righteous item will come from our pulpit of power that happens every Saturday morning. The Sabbath, we are Sabbath. We worship on the Sabbath day at 10 a.m. every Saturday morning on all the social media channels. We are there. And then, of course, we have our Bible study, or our prayer meeting now, which is called the Open Rewards Prayer Meeting, every Wednesday night the Lord sends at 7 p.m. We're asking you to log on, join with us, that the joyous day when the curse of poverty will be broken over Harlem and then over Africa. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant.
Let's get close to the Lord. Oh, yeah. Let's get close to the Lord. Oh, yeah. Living life from day to day, we so busy, lose our way, feeling empty and confused. Well, my friend, just one thing to do. Let's get close to the Lord. Oh yeah. Let's get close to the Lord. Oh yeah. Smile with laughter, but inside still could not find peace of mind. There's a hunger, yes, it's true. We forget we were made for you. Let's get close to the Lord. Oh yeah. Let's get close to the Lord. Oh yeah. Take my burden and my pride. Sinful life don't satisfy. Only Jesus has the touch. Heal our guilt and lift us up. Let's get close to the Lord. Oh yeah. Let's get close to the Lord. Oh yeah. Abraham, Moses too. They fell down, but they get back up. Like Simon Peter in that upper room. Let's get close.